Story 1. The Camping Trip. I've never trusted silence the same way since that night in the Cascade Mountains. It was August 2017. My boyfriend Jake and I decided to do a 3-day camping trip in Washington State. Remote area, barely marked trails, exactly what we wanted, a real escape. We'd been dating for 2 years. He was experienced with camping, had all the gear, knew what he was doing. I trusted him completely. The first day was perfect. We hiked about 8 miles in, found a clearing near a stream, set up our tent, made a fire, cooked dinner, told stories, normal camping stuff. We fell asleep around 10 p.m. to the sound of water rushing over rocks. I woke up at 4:30 a.m. The tent felt wrong, too much space. Jake was gone. His sleeping bag was empty, boots were gone, flashlight was gone, but his backpack was still there. His phone was still there, tucked in the side pocket where he always kept it. I called out for him. No answer. Unzipped the tent and looked outside. The fire was dead, cold, like it had been out for hours, and it was dark. That deep, complete darkness you only get miles from civilization. I grabbed my flashlight and his phone, checked the time, 4:32 a.m., checked for messages, nothing. Last thing on his phone was a weather app he'd checked at 9:45 p.m. I walked around the campsite, calling his name. My voice sounded small, swallowed by the trees. Then I saw the footprints, his boots, leading away from camp, into the woods, away from the trail. I followed them for maybe 50 yards. Then they just stopped. Like he'd been walking and suddenly vanished. No sign of struggle, no broken branches, no indication he'd climbed a tree or jumped somewhere, just footprints that ended in the middle of nowhere. I went back to camp, tried to stay calm, told myself he'd gone to the bathroom, gotten turned around, would find his way back. But hours passed. The sun came up, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., no Jake. I packed up everything I could carry. His backpack, my backpack, the tent. Started hiking back toward the trailhead. It took me 6 hours. My legs were shaking. I kept looking over my shoulder, expecting to see him behind me, laughing about some elaborate prank. I reached my car at 2 p.m. His car was still there, parked next to mine. I drove to the ranger station, reported him missing. They organized a search party within 3 hours. Helicopters, dogs, volunteers. They searched for 5 days. They found our campsite, found the dead fire, found his footprints leading into the woods, found where they stopped. But they never found Jake. The lead ranger, a woman named Patricia, pulled me aside on day 4. She'd been working these mountains for 23 years. She said something I think about every single day. This is the 7th disappearance in this area in the last decade. Always the same pattern. Experienced campers. Someone wakes up, their partner is gone. Footprints lead into the woods and stop. We never find bodies, never find evidence of animals, never find anything. It's like they walk into the trees and cease to exist. I asked her what she thought happened. She looked at the forest for a long time before answering. I think something calls them. I think they hear something or see something, and they follow it. And whatever it is, it doesn't bring them back. I moved back to California a month later. Couldn't stay in Washington, couldn't drive past forests without feeling sick. But here's what keeps me awake. 3 months after Jake disappeared, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered it. Static, heavy breathing, then a voice, faint, distant. It said, "Don't come looking." It sounded like Jake, but wrong, like his voice was coming from very far away, or from underwater. The call lasted 8 seconds, then disconnected. I tried calling back, number was disconnected. I reported it to the police. They couldn't trace it, said it was probably a prank, someone who'd heard about the case. But I knew Jake's voice, and that was him. Wherever he is, whatever happened to him, I think part of him is still out there, still in those woods. still walking deeper into places where footprints end and people disappear. I'll never camp again. Can't, because I know now that forests aren't empty. Something lives in them, something that watches campers sleep, something that calls people away from their tents in the middle of the night. And once you follow it, you don't come back. Story 2. The field research. My professor left me alone at the research site for 4 hours. 4 hours that destroyed my career and my sanity. I was a graduate student at Oregon State, studying forestry. It was June 2021. My advisor, Dr. Harrison, had a research grant to study old-growth forests in the Coast Range. We were collecting soil samples, measuring tree growth, standard ecological research. The site was about 15 miles down a logging road. No cell service, no other people, just us and the trees. We'd been working there for 2 weeks. Long days, just the two of us. Dr. Harrison was in his 60s, been doing field work his whole career. He knew these forests better than anyone. On the 15th day, we were working in different sections. He was about half a mile north. I was taking measurements in a grove of Douglas firs. The plan was to meet back at the truck at 4 p.m. Around noon, I heard him calling my name. His voice sounded strange, urgent. I packed up my equipment and headed toward where I'd last seen him, calling back, "I'm coming, hang on." But his voice kept moving. Every time I got close, it would come from a different direction, further away. I followed it for 20 minutes, deeper into the forest, away from our research area, into sections we hadn't mapped. Then I realized something. His voice hadn't changed. Same words, same tone, like a recording playing over and over. "Jessica, help! Jessica, help!" I stopped walking. My blood went cold, because Dr. Harrison never called me Jessica. He called me Jess, always Jess. In 2 years of working together, he'd never once used my full name. I turned around and ran. Didn't care about the equipment, just ran back the way I came. When I got back to our research area, Dr. Harrison was there, at his workstation, calmly taking notes. I was out of breath, terrified. I asked him if he'd been calling for me. He looked confused, said no, he'd been working here the whole time, asked why I looked so scared. I told him what happened, about the voice, about following it into the woods. His face went pale. He packed up his equipment immediately, said we were leaving, didn't explain, just kept saying we needed to go. We got to the truck and he told me to wait there. Said he needed to grab one more piece of equipment he'd left at the northern site. He'd be back in 20 minutes, 30 at most. I sat in the truck, doors locked, windows up, watching the tree line. 20 minutes passed, 30, 45. I honked the horn. 3 long blasts, our signal if someone was in trouble. No response. An hour, still nothing. I had a decision to make. Stay in the truck or go looking for him. I stayed, because I remembered that voice, that thing that mimicked Dr. Harrison, and I knew if I went into those woods again, I might not come back. 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. The sun was setting. I was starting to panic. The truck keys were in Dr. Harrison's pocket. My phone was dead. No way to call for help. That's when I heard it again. His voice, coming from the woods. "Jess, the equipment, need help." But this time, I noticed something else. A second voice, further back in the trees, saying the same thing, same words, same rhythm, like an echo, but slightly off. Then a third voice, and a fourth, all saying the same thing, all sounding exactly like Dr. Harrison. I ducked down in the truck, covered my ears, started singing to myself to drown out the voices. They continued for maybe 10 minutes, then stopped. Complete silence. I waited until full dark. Then I saw headlights. A forestry service truck coming down the logging road. 2 rangers. They'd been doing routine patrols, saw our truck, stopped to check if we needed help. I told them everything. They searched with flashlights for an hour, found Dr. Harrison's equipment at the northern site, found his footprints leading away from it, leading deeper into the forest, leading toward where I'd heard the voices. They called in a full search team at dawn, searched for 3 days, never found him, never found any trace except those footprints. The university shut down the research project, sealed all of Dr. Harrison's notes, told me to take the rest of the semester off. I never went back, dropped out of the program, moved to Arizona, somewhere with deserts and open skies. But I still hear them sometimes, late at night when it's very quiet, voices calling my name, asking for help, sounding exactly like people I know. I don't answer. I never answer, because I know what happens when you follow voices in the forest. I know what's waiting in those trees, something that learns your voice, something that calls to your friends, something that leads you deeper and deeper until you forget which direction you came from. Dr. Harrison was an expert. He knew those forests. He knew how to navigate, how to survive, and it still got him. So I stay away from forests now, all forests, because I know the truth. Those voices aren't echoes. They're not your imagination. They're something calling, something that sounds exactly like someone you trust. And if you follow them, you become another voice in the woods, another call for help that leads the next person deeper into the darkness. Story 3. The survival training. The worst part about being left alone in the wilderness isn't the loneliness. It's realizing you were never actually alone. I signed up for a wilderness survival course in Montana, summer of 2022, 10-day intensive. They teach you shelter, building, fire starting, finding water, all the basics. The final test was 48 hours alone in the forest with minimal supplies. My instructor's name was Marcus Reed, former Army Ranger, survival expert, ran these courses for 15 years. He knew what he was doing. On day 8, he took me about 12 miles into the Flathead National Forest, gave me a tarp, a knife, a water bottle, and some paracord, showed me the general area where I'd be, told me he'd be back in exactly 48 hours. He pointed to a ridge about 2 miles east, said if I had a real emergency, climb to that ridge and use the signal mirror he gave me. Someone would see it. Then he left, and I was alone. The first day was fine. I built a shelter, found a stream, made a fire, felt pretty good about myself, confident. That night, I heard something moving around my camp. Footsteps, circling. I called out, "Marcus, is that you?" No answer. The footsteps stopped. I figured it was an animal, deer maybe. I kept the fire going and eventually fell asleep. Day 2, I woke up and noticed something weird. My tarp had been moved. Not much, just a few inches, like someone had lifted the edge and looked underneath while I was sleeping. My knife was gone. I'd left it next to my sleeping bag. Now it was 10 feet away, stuck in a tree, point first, buried deep. I pulled it out. Took some real effort. Whatever put it there was strong. That's when I started to worry, because animals don't stick knives in trees. I decided to head to the ridge, signal for help. This wasn't part of the survival test anymore. I packed up and started hiking east. The ridge was supposed to be 2 miles. Should take an hour, maybe 90 minutes. I hiked for 3 hours. The ridge never got closer, like I was walking on a treadmill, making progress but not actually moving forward. I stopped, checked my compass. I was heading east, definitely east, but the ridge looked exactly the same distance away as when I started. Then I heard it, behind me, someone whistling, a tune I recognized. Don't worry, be happy. Marcus used to whistle it while we were training. I turned around, nobody there, but the whistling continued, getting closer. I started running, didn't care about the direction anymore, just needed to move. The whistling followed, always the same distance behind me, never getting closer, never falling back. I ran for maybe 30 minutes. Then I saw something that made my heart stop. My campsite, The tarp shelter I'd built, the fire pit. I'd run in a complete circle, come right back to where I started, but that was impossible. I'd been running east the whole time, checking my compass every few minutes. The whistling stopped, complete silence. Then I heard Marcus's voice. "Not bad. You're learning." He walked out of the trees, smiling, carrying his backpack, looking completely normal. I asked him what the hell was going on. Why did he move my knife? Why was he whistling? He looked confused, said he just got here, said the 48 hours were up, time to head back. I told him about everything. The footsteps, the knife, the whistling, running in circles. His smile faded. He asked me to show him where I'd found the knife, where it had been stuck in the tree. I took him to the tree. The hole was still there, deep, fresh. Marcus examined it, pulled out a measuring tape. The hole was 7 feet off the ground. He asked me how tall I was. 5'6", I told him. He pointed at the hole. "You couldn't have reached this high, not even jumping. Something else put this here." We packed up fast. Marcus had a GPS. We headed back to his truck, 3 miles northwest. Should have taken 2 hours. It took 6 hours, because we kept ending up back at the campsite, over and over, no matter which direction we walked. Marcus finally tried something. He told me to close my eyes and walk backward. Don't look where we're going, just walk backward while he guided me. I did it, walked backward for 20 minutes. Felt ridiculous, felt insane. Then Marcus said, "Okay, stop, open your eyes." We were out, standing on a trail I recognized. His truck was visible a quarter mile away. We didn't talk much on the drive back, but before he dropped me off, Marcus said something that confirmed my worst fears. "I've been running this course for 15 years. Every few years, someone has an experience like yours. Something that doesn't make sense. Something that feels like the forest is playing with them. The ones who make it out are the ones who stop trying to navigate normally, stop trusting their compass, stop believing their eyes. Because whatever's in there, it doesn't follow our rules. It bends space, makes you walk in circles, traps you." I asked him what he thought it was. He said, "I don't know, but I think the forest protects itself. And when someone comes in who might actually survive, who might actually understand it, something decides whether to let them leave. You passed the test. You left. Others haven't. I never finished the survival course, didn't get my certificate, didn't care, because I learned something more valuable than any survival skill. I learned that some places don't want you there. Some places will confuse you, trap you, test you. And if you fail the test, you don't leave. I think about the people who didn't make it out, the ones who kept walking in circles until they ran out of water, until they gave up, until they sat down and waited for something that never came. I think about my knife stuck 7 feet high in that tree, and I wonder what put it there, what was strong enough, tall enough, to do that. And I'm grateful I'll never know the answer.